So this is being recorded for posterity or reference. Thank you all for joining. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Let's get right to it. So first thing on the agenda. Hopefully this is uneventful than the prior discussion on pins in the scheduling assistant for you all. So I'm gonna let you guys know that when this functionality was developed, it was with the undergrad population in mind, and it was a welcome idea. In fact, I think it was suggested by the undergrad advisors. And through discussions, we thought it would be great functionality to provide to grad students. I did not make the connection that the functionality is for the advisor recommendation form, which then pushes into the course recommendation form for the students, which at present, to our understanding, no graduate students use. So I created a bit of a uproar for what seems to be a moot point. So I do sincerely apologize that I created anxiety, and not only for those that didn't want it to appear, but for those that thought it was a great idea and were referencing it to their students only for it to not show up. I am really regretful for that. So moving forward, there is no change into how your students will receive their pins. Your prior process is your current process. You may ignore the conversation that we had regarding pins will not be needed if you check this box or if you don't check this box. Any questions about the pins? Hearing nothing, we are moving on. Nicole, I think the next few items are you.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me? Awesome.
I can.
I'm
right.
sorry. I do have a question real quick about that.
Yes.
I think I might also see a hand up too in the.
Oh,
log.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So this change, I was just told I had a grad student who was able to access their PIN this past week. So
access their PIN how?
I think it's through the way they were directed through the registrar's office. She was able to. She sent me a screenshot, and since I'm so new, I don't know all the programs super well, but I think through her My Purdue, there is now a new button that she can click that says registration PIN, and she was able to access it.
So for clarification, that link has always been there, and students can click on it and view their PIN if they have already done a registration via the web.
Okay, so they have to have already have their PIN from somewhere else, register, and then it'll show their PIN. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Correct. Okay, hold on. There might be some more questions here on that.
Thank you.
Question regarding the pins for grads. Do we have to hide the pins, or will they be withheld? Because the visibility of the pins that I talked about is in the course recommendation form, which your students don't use, there's nothing to hide. So like the example that Jackie afforded me, there is a link in My Purdue that says view PIN, but again, unless your student has actually been provided their PIN and done a successful registration via My Purdue, that PIN will not display to them. They'll get a message that says contact your advisor. Okay. Keith, did you have your hand up, or was I seeing things? Are we good?
I did, but I clicked it accidentally, so ignore me.
Okay. If there's no more questions about pins, we're going to move on to Nicole then.
All right. Well, most of what I have to say is about upcoming deadlines. So hopefully all of you are aware that tomorrow is the deadline to deposit for students to deposit their thesis or dissertation. So that means that everything needs to be submitted and Form 9 signed all the way through Ashley. So sometimes Ashley Messer-Smith works over the weekend to get some of those cleared up, but they need to be everything to her by end of business tomorrow. If students were approved for extensions, the latest that they can be given extensions with the late fee is the following Friday at noon. So just so you're aware, there is a little bit of flexibility there with a late fee, but not a lot, just because of our extra winter break and things like that. So the other thing to keep in mind is January 11th is the deadline for issues to be resolved for students to be cleared as of fall. So that's earlier than it has been in the past. Again, because of that winter break, we're going to leave for the winter holiday, and then when we get back, we only have about a week to resolve issues before we have to finalize the clearance list for spring. So please review the candidate audits, check to see if there's any issues. If any of your students need to submit change requests to update their plan, please do so as soon as possible, because some of those things we won't have a lot of time to fix them. Let's see, some exciting news. I should be able to test an electronic version of the Form 19, the off-campus research request, today. We hope to get that moved into production by Friday. So I will send an email to you about that once it's ready, but starting certainly by next week, we should have a way for your students to request that Form 19 online through the Plan of Study generator in MyPurdue. Let's see. And as we're looking ahead for spring, similar to fall, we're already in the process of trying to collect the list of students who need to complete the clearance to return to campus, that COVID checklist requirements that is similar to what we had in the fall. So we need to know which of our students are physically going to be on campus. And if they're not physically going to be on campus, we need to know that as soon as possible too. So some of your students may need to submit research in absentia requests, or change of duty stations, or Form 19s, or some other means of letting us know that they're not physically going to be here, so that we can note them correctly so they're not included in that COVID checklist and surveillance testing group. I think that is all for me. Does anyone have any questions on those things? I'm kind of watching. Okay.
Nicole, I just wanted to piggyback on your statement about the cleared for campus. I continue to get some questions regarding, can my student be in both residential and online only sections? So if I'm considered a student, can I sign up for what is considered a residential course? Or if I'm a residential student, can't I please take this online course? And just to clarify for everybody, I believe the answer is no. If you're online, you're online. The only exception is going to be for research, right? Research is the only one that you can have an exception for.
And there, I might add, if you're online, the limit would be 3 credits of research.
Thank you, Tom.
So I see Morgan just asked a question. So the students who requested off-campus research or absentia for fall 2020, we assumed that they are continuing in that status for spring 2021 unless they've let us know otherwise. So I sent a survey to those student groups, and if anybody let us know they're physically coming back to campus, I removed them from that status. And if not, then yes, we assumed that they're staying in that status and they don't need to submit another form for that.
Super.
All right, well, I think Dr. Atkinson has an update on grades for research, so I'll turn it over to Tom.
Thank you, Nicole. I would let you all know that, as we usually do, we will be sending 2U letters in January to all departments. Grad contacts will be copied, asking that departments do a review of these students and decide whether they should continue with conditions or be dismissed. Now, an important point: if you are aware of students, you don't have to wait until you receive my letter in January to work on that. If you're ready to take action, you've been watching a case, you can do that after grades are posted. I would say don't do it before grades are posted, but you may do that then. Also, I want to make sure that you know this is somewhat new. It's been there 3 or 4 years, but there is a obligation for students to or for departments after even 1U to reach out to the student and develop and communicate a plan on how they can remedy their situation. Maybe they need to take a particular course, or maybe they need to adjust their research in some way. But know that that is an expectation of the graduate council. I think that's where this language came from. And also just a continuing reminder that students and faculty are to agree within the first 2 weeks. The policy manual says on what the deliverables are for 698 and 699 courses. We know that we've not had the participation in that we would like, particularly in the past couple of semesters. But we encourage you to do that because it can make it more difficult if students receive U's, but there was no agreement between student and faculty member. It can be more difficult then to act on a 2U kind of policy. So keep that in mind. Are there any questions regarding 2U's and how we work with those? Thankfully, it involves a very small number of students, so we're spending a lot of time on probably we'll have hopefully 5 or fewer students in the 2U category, but it's always a big thing. I mean, it's a big thing because it is one of the few places. The other one is grades, but they're very low grades if the university drops a student because but this is the other way, and so we want to make sure to the extent possible we can do it right.
Tom, there are a couple questions in the chat.
Okay.
So Morgan asks, will those U letters be sent electronically or by campus mail?
Probably knowing, learning, we historically have sent them through campus mail, but we'll probably try to do that. We'll probably try to do that through File Locker this time, just because we know people are working elsewhere.
I'm happy to hear you say File Locker. Thank you. And then Brandy asks, faculty approve the deliverables in My Purdue, and that is yes. There is a link on their faculty tab for that, correct?
There is. Now, my understanding is, and you're both welcome to help me with the fine points, that the agreement is not put in there. It's the only thing that they can certify in Banner is that it has been done.
It's yes.
So I mean, it is possible to say, hey, it's been done, but when people say that, we're counting on there actually being an agreement somewhere that can be pointed to if needed.
Very good point. Yes, they're just acknowledging that they've done it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I suppose it's possible that, lots of people are doing it. They're just not checking that box. We'll hope for that.
And I would just add, I don't think that checkbox is available for spring until the spring session opens. Is that right? Until the first day of spring?
That is correct. First day of class.
Faculty will not be able to submit that they have communicated that to their student until the session starts.
Correct.
Quick clarification on that. What is the box when they register for research credit hours? What is the box? I thought that's what the box was they were checking, was that they were having that discussion. What's that box that they're checking to approve those hours?
The box that they're checking in the scheduling assistant is just, it's saying, because they're requesting an override, that they're saying that they've talked to their advisor and that they need to move forward with requesting the permission. So it's most likely it's an instructor permission to gain access to the 698 or 699. It's not agreeing to the deliverables.
Okay. So then there will be another box that all in early spring that they have to check.
So the box, we may be talking two different things. The box that I think you're talking about is when a student is registering for 698 or 699, they're
Yes.
going to get a registration error that says instructor permission is required. Do you want to request that? This that Dr. Atkinson is talking about, I can do a screen share here. This is where faculty have to go in on their, tell me when you can see it.
Yep.
So on your on the faculty tab in their toolbox, there's a box that says agreement on deliverables. This is what faculty are initiating. And then, like Nicole said, it's only going to be available once the term starts. We turn that on, our team turns that on with initial course participation. Select your term, and then you see I'm not instructor of record for any 698s or 699s, but it's basically, it's a checkbox that says I'm acknowledging that I have discussed the deliverables for this course with my student.
Okay.
And I probably would say the really main point is, I mean, we hope people will check this, but I think the main point you want to focus on with the faculty with whom you work is that it's really important to have an agreement in writing that the student acknowledges so that everyone can be held accountable for certain things in order to get an S in research.
Yeah, we have a form that they fill out that is completed in the first
Great.
2 weeks.
That's
But
great.
then I was like, if I've also got to then tell faculty they have to then go to another spot to then approve it, I just double checking.
Sorry.
The main thing, you know, it's all important, you know, it wouldn't be there. But the main thing is that the agreement is in place and can be referred to if there are any questions, any appeals.
Okay. Is there going to be a way grad advisors can see if they have any students or faculty that haven't checked the box in the system? Are we going to be able to see that?
Nicole, is that in Cognos?
It's not anywhere that advisors can access it, I don't think, but I can send you that information once the term starts. If it would be helpful to your department, just let me know and I can share that list with you. I'll also send instructions for how faculty need to go in and check that box once spring starts.
So you'll do that. Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Atkinson, will you accept the GS31 via file locker?
Yes, let's see, 30, the 31 is that the reciprocal form? Yeah, sure we will.
Super.
It may not be, it may not happen as quickly. I mean, you know, but yeah, we will. It's probably me being in the office, and I'm currently in the office a couple days a week, and you know, so things like that I would probably wait on to print when I get to the office and review and look at the student's record and so on. But absolutely, that would be fine.
Super. Anything else for Dr. Atkinson or Nicole? Okay, drop it in the chat if you think of it while I continue. So a reminder, academic standing will be assessed this fall. We put a pin in it in the spring. So students that meet the criteria, so if they have cum and semester over 2.0, they will be assessed good standing. If they have one but not both that are less than 2.0, they will be placed on probation or continued on probation if they were on probation in the spring. And then if both are less than 2.0 and they were on probation at this before the fall term, then they will be academically dropped.
Lisa, just a little adjustment on that because these are graduate students. I think if they're less than 3.0, they get a notice of less than good standing.
Correct.
And it's only less than 2.0 that it would be probation.
Correct. So you may, thank you, Tom. You may have some that will get the not probation, not good standing, but a less than 3.0. Yes, that is unique to graduate students. Okay, next I wanted to just touch base on the registration workflow. So time conflicts and repeat limit exceptions. So any of you that are processing registration for courses for your students, if you are overriding a registration error in SFA regs, I'm going to ask that when you're done with that, you go into CEFAS or PO and actually enter whatever override that you just clicked through to process the registration. And the reason for that is if your student makes changes to their schedule later using the scheduling assistant, whether it's changing their grade mode option or dropping a class, the system will revalidate their registration against Banner and see that they're missing an override that you just clicked in the moment. And it's going to request that override at that point in order for the student to remain in the course that they're not trying to drop. So I know it's an additional step, but only courses, not research, including research. Because research also, almost every research course that I'm aware of requires either department or instructor permission. So I'm sorry, I know that's another step, but you're either going to deal with it now or you're going to deal with it at crunch time when the student's trying to make another change. Jessica, it's in SFA, CEFAS or PO, SFA, SRPO. I'll include a link to the how-to in my notes, okay? I'll put that in there. Candidates, if you are entering candidacy, yes, it also requires an override. When students are requesting candidacy, I think that's being routed to Nicole. So my personal recommendation is tell them to add the candidate course themselves and it'll route through the appropriate approval process that Nicole would be the one to approve. And then the workflow creates the override so you don't have to. And if that's confusing for any of you because you're not in it enough, feel free to reach out to myself or Jamie Morehouse is an amazing trainer. She knows this tool really, really well, and she has been doing virtual training on this for almost a year now. Time conflicts. So this one is a little quirky, and I think we're seeing it a bit more because of some of the in-person meeting arrangements where a student is only going to be in person for this class every other meeting. And so they've created some flexibility for now a potential what would have looked like a time conflict. So if a student is going to potentially be enrolled in a course that creates a conflict for another one, that is an override that we would ask the student to submit it through the scheduling assistant so that it can be routed to the appropriate department designees who would most likely engage in a discussion with the instructors to say, is this something you've worked out with your student? And then they can make the decision to approve it or not. In the cases where a student's already enrolled in course A, and now they're going to add course B that could create the conflict, the only approver is going to be for the new course. That's just logically how the system is set up. If both courses are being submitted for registration at the same time, both department designees will get the notification to come to an agreement on that. Candidacy bypasses, yes. So candidate course only requires Nicole's approval. Major professor doesn't weigh in on that. Nicole, do you want to speak to that at all? I didn't realize that any major professor was involved in a candidate course.
It doesn't typically go through major professor, but it does need grad school approval starting January 22nd. So for right now, departments or the registrar could add that candidate 991 registration, and if it works through the workflow, that's fine too. But after the 22nd, departments have to email Grad Web so that my team can make sure the student gets on, because we download it basically a giant Excel spreadsheet based on the candidate 991s already entered. And if you add it after that point, then the student would not make it on our list, even if they have a candidate 991 registration. So that starts January 22nd.
Morgan, great question. Yes, that will take you forever. So what I'm going to do is, for those of you that have large numbers that will need an override entered in FAFSA-PO, I'm going to send you a template that you can just drop the PUIDs in a spreadsheet for me, and I can do a mass upload for you. I don't want you doing this for 300 or even 50. I'll put a link in here of what the spreadsheet looks like. You guys can drop the PUIDs in there for me, and then I'll upload it for you. Okay. FYI, grade change workflow went live on November 24th. I have not widely disseminated that information yet for two reasons. One, because this is our first semester in it, and I don't like to make a lot of splash, because I want to wait and see where the bugs bubble up before I make a lot of noise about it. So a number of faculty have already found it, because there are about a dozen that have already been processed. There's a handful that are pending department head or the designee approval. So that's very encouraging that people are finding it and using it. And the second reason is there are enhancements to the My Purdue portal that are coming out after end of term. And so I don't want to create documentation and videos only to have to redo them in 2 more weeks. So partially selfish on that. Sorry, going back here, Morgan, approved, received box. Yeah, when you click that box in SFA regs, it gives a temporary override to get them enrolled in the course, but it doesn't log a permanent override in FAFSA-PO, which is what the scheduling assistant validates against for registration changes. Okay, any questions about the grade change workflow? Super. Okay, summer 21. The schedule of classes is set to publish on December 21st. Holy cow, that's like in 2 weeks. And
Lisa,
yes.
actually it'll be published by December 18th. Since
You're gonna do it before we leave.
Since the 21st is now winter recess, we'll actually be publishing by December 18th.
Thanks,
So,
Jill. I wondered about that. And then registration will start for grad students on buy time ticket on December 25th, 2021. So they will, I think we do 500 every 10 minutes until they're all in. So if you have graduate students that are interested in registering for summer, that will start at the end of January. Wow. Wow. Okay, and then I have the rest of the agenda just covers our different training opportunities for those of you that have an interest in refresher or up to date. Okay, is it better to request information or delegate a work order to the major professor when the student? It's entirely up to you, Kathy. If your faculty will respond to the workflow in the workflow, my experience has been a lot of times faculty will reply back to the email that will either go to registrar's inbox, and then sometimes we forward on to you, or if you're just emailing them outside of the tool. But it's been my experience, and maybe it's just because I'm seeing them, but when I delegate or someone delegates to an instructor, they reply back to the delegation email, which comes to registrar, and it doesn't get logged or action in the tool. So if you can train your faculty member on how to handle it, more power to you. Jenny, I registered my students for the research and gave the override. Yes, you still need to go into FAFSA-PO and enter the override, or you can use the template that I'm going to provide in the notes and I can upload them for you. But you do need to know, is your research instructor permission or department permission? Jill, can you speak to that? Do you know? Are they all instructor permission, 698s and 699s?
Good question. I don't know. I can look real fast if you need me to. I would, that's more of a catalog on Kim. I don't know if she's on the phone. I don't know if they're built with instructor. Hold on, let me look. I'm gonna put myself on mute. Can you continue on? I'll get back with you.
Are students able to add spring classes through the break? Yes, registration for spring is continuously open. It does not shut down over the winter break. I will be processing the academic drops. I'm going to remove spring registrations for academic drops on Thursday, December 17th, before end of day is my goal. And then you guys don't have this, but at the undergrad level, I'll be dropping for failed prereqs on Monday, the 21st of December. Deadline to register for spring is January 27th is when prepay and late reg starts. So they can go through the end of the calendar day to January 26th, 11:59 p.m. Anything else we didn't cover? Burning questions. Instructor permission is on 699. Perfect. So I'll provide that template. So all you guys need to do is drop in your PUIDs and your subject area and whether it's 698 or 699, and I'll get that uploaded for you.
Hey, Lisa.
Yes.
So with 698 and 699 credits, I'm relaying some information from my staff here, so I'm hopefully getting it right. Those are variable credits. So the students first have to go through an approval process that goes through the advisor and the instructor that says, yes, you can take them. And then they have to go through a second approval process that says, how many variable credits are you choosing to take? Is there a way to get that done all in one approval so that those instructors aren't receiving two approvals and getting some confusion on, didn't I already approve this?
So that is on my bucket list, yes. And for clarification, once I have received, if I'm the student, once I've received instructor permission to be in the course and I'm in the course, then the instructor is not going to get any notification to modify the credits unless I'm modifying the credits after the first week of classes, because you've already told me I can be in the course.
Okay, so when the student goes back through and does that again, then it's just going to be set. They don't have to go through a second process.
Mm-hmm. Unless they're making that change at starting the second week. Correct. Excellent. And I know a number of departments don't like the back and forth that the students have to do. So they have opted to continue to process registration through the Grad Reg contact, which is fine. I get it. And I'm not going to interfere with that. But if you're a college that wants to put that responsibility on your student, then you certainly have that technology available to you. For all of you, I would just ask week one, day one of classes, you email your grad students and you tell them this week you have to verify your enrollment, your credit hours, your instructors, and your grade modes. That burden lies on the students to verify. I'm getting corrections this week, which is unfortunately very typical because you guys are all amazing and you do some great concierge service for your students. This is not your degree. This is their degree. And it's much easier to clean up in the first couple weeks. Kathy, research credits can vary between 1 and 18. Archaic restrictions, 6, that restricts to 6 faculty. Kathy, what's your subject area? And maybe we need to take this offline because I'll have to dig in and look at your 658 and 668. I don't know those courses. So let's take that offline, okay? AD, Kathy Evans. We'll follow up. We'll follow up on this, Kathy. Archaic. The world of how we've always done it. Yes. Okay. Anybody have anything else? I'm sorry I kept you over. Okay. I'm going to end the recording, and that if you need this, you can come back to this meeting on your calendar and be able to view the recording or share the recording with a colleague that needs to see it. And I'm going to try to embed the link to the recording in my notes that I send out as well. Okay. Guys, have a great day. See you later.
Thanks. Bye.